You know what's funny? If you wanted to go through the Vancouver Canucks and their history of draft picks, it's been way too long. Way too long since the Vancouver Canucks have traded up in the first round. Now, sure, they've acquired multiple first-round picks in drafts in the past. 2013, you had Bo Horvat, Hunter Shinkaruk. 2014, you had Virtanen McCann right there. But when it comes to this team and its ability to move up, trade their own first in a package to get another first that is higher than their own, I really can't recall the last time they did this. I have been a fan ever since 2011, and just kind of remembering that, hey, they've never traded up in the first round in my fandom. I know there was the Sedins back in 1999, but that was, kind of a different circumstance. It was multiple trades of other picks and a bunch of stuff getting moved around to get Henrik and Daniel at 2 and 3. But the Vancouver Canucks have not moved up in the first round in ages. But according to PATRIK ALLVIN, there may be a chance they want to do that this year. The reason we're talking about the Vancouver Canucks today is because we had ourselves a post made on aftonbladet.se. Now, this, I believe, is Sportbladet Plus, like the paid subscription service version of Sportbladet. If you wanted to simplify it, just think of it as The Athletic, but in Sweden. And what they did was they interviewed PATRIK ALLVIN. The title of the article says this: "The Vancouver GM pays tribute to the Swedish talent," he says, "is big." Now, there's probably some lost in translation type of error there, but essentially, ALLVIN is saying that the talent of the Swede that we're talking about today is tremendous. The little preview on this article, translated from Swedish into English, says this: when PATRIK ALLVIN, 48, had to make his very first draft pick as GM, he called in a compatriot, aka another Swede. He took Lekaramaki last year. Great. If Vancouver's GM is to repeat that trick this summer, that Swede will not be named Leo Carlsson. Now, that is kind of misleading. It says, wait a minute, if ALLVIN wants to take a Swede, he's not going to take Carlsson? What are you talking about in this video then, man? Well, there are some people that did read this article and posted about it. Patrick Petrin is the one that comes to my mind right away. He does a lot of hockey work on prospects, especially the ones from Sweden, because he's a Swede. And he tweeted this out the other day as well, after the article was published. Canucks GM PATRIK ALLVIN tells Swedish newspaper he is really high on Swedish center Leo Carlsson. And ALLVIN says it's not out of the question that he could try to move up in the draft to get him. But he also says the price has to be right. You can't give too much to get Carlsson. He also went up to say that it's not likely that he can move up to get Carlsson, but all options are open. ALLVIN is at the World Championships and is really bullish on Carlsson. And we also had ourselves Rick Dalibor. He went out there and talked about this entire segment on Carlson Price from earlier yesterday. Is there a world where the Canucks trade up at the draft to select Carlsson? Dalibor says ALLVIN told a Swedish newspaper he loves Carlsson. ALLVIN said all options are open, and if the price is right, he would do it. So this is sort of new, isn't it? It's very new territory for folks here in Vancouver that are listening to their GM openly admit that there's a guy that he likes at the top of the draft. Like, sure, this kind of thing is probably inferred, like, oh, if the Canucks had a chance to trade up for Bedard, would they do it? And it cost what they felt is appropriate? Yeah, okay, they probably would. You could probably say the same thing about Benning in 2015 with McDavid, maybe even Eichel, Marner. 2016, there was Austin Matthews at the top of that draft. And it's kind of a foregone conclusion that NHL GMs would want to improve their team, right? But just having this in the media, having this publicized and written, that's weird. Like, it feels really weird. Of course, seeing Leo Carlsson as a potential Canucks target is not surprising. Not only is he Swedish, but he does happen to have a very talented profile in the draft. If you wanted to go over what it is that Carlsson can do, well, we did make the Why I Want video earlier this season, so you can go ahead and check that out if you want to see my extended thoughts on Carlsson as a prospect. But essentially, what you're looking at is a guy that could become, like, at a very best case scenario, Mats Sundin 2.0. He's big, he's skilled, he's just got such a mature understanding of the game, and you watch a lot of this tape and you see, yeah, that's a really poised hockey player. If that guy becomes Mats Sundin, I would not be all too surprised. But he's projected to being a third overall pick in this year's draft. Who holds the 3rd overall pick? Well, Columbus does right now. So if the Vancouver Canucks were to assume Bedard and then Fantilli goes 1 and 2, and they wanted to trade up for Leo Carlsson at 3, then okay. What's the price to go from 11 to 3, eh? Not really too sure. There are prospects the Canucks have, seldom at the very least, that are valuable. I mean, I'd say that Elias Pettersson has some sort of value. Danila Klimovich has progressed to a point where you could say he's not worth nothing. There are the acquisitions from free agency, the Colmick Wards of the world, the Akito Hiroses of the world, but of course, you just sign these guys. You don't want to trade these guys away. So when it comes to what exactly the price is to move from 11 to 3, that's a lot. I mean, the Canucks would probably have to get rid of one of their future first-round picks to do so, right? If not, maybe multiple thirds or a second and a third and a fourth or whatever. Like, I'm not going to go out there and try to discredit this because the Vancouver Canucks, they're probably going to take themselves a guy in the 11th overall range like, I don't know, Axel Sandin Pellikka or a Dvorsky or something like that. The difference between one of these guys and Leo Carlsson is huge, just in terms of who they are today and in terms of who they could be years down the line when these guys are all in their primes and you have them maxed out at their NHL potentials. Leo Carlsson could be a 90-plus point guy. If you're talking about Leo Carlsson, you're talking about that Mats Sundin type of mold, and having this type of a guy alongside of Elias Pettersson and Lekaramaki bringing together all the super Swedes in Vancouver, that's valuable. It takes a lot to go from whomever the Canucks would take at 11 to 3rd overall, especially in this year's draft. Now, if you wanted to assume that Carlsson doesn't go 3, let's say he goes worst case scenario 4. Let's say Michkov or somebody else goes above Leo Carlsson in this year's draft. Then, okay, you're talking about the 4th overall spot, 7 spots up in the draft order. Who's 4th overall? San Jose. Can the Sharks afford to lose out on somebody like Carlsson in order to get a whole bunch of stuff that Vancouver could offer? I mean, the Canucks, they really need to offer prospects and young guys and draft picks, and they don't have much of those. So, I don't know. I mean, ALLVIN did say that the price has to be right, but we don't know how right that is. We don't know if the Canucks could even afford what some of these other teams would be thinking about. Okay, you want me to move from 3 to 11? Well, here's what we think that's worth. Give us X, Y, Z, and if you can't pay up, then you can't pay up. You can't move up. Simple as that. And so, this is a breath of fresh air, isn't it? Having the Vancouver Canucks set their eyes on a guy that is outside of their range and is not going to be available when they're drafting at 11. This is different from the Michkov thing, because Michkov, I mean, there were some scouts that were apparently saying that they don't know if Michkov is even going to be taken somewhere in the top 10, so Vancouver, I mean, the chances of them being able to draft Michkov seem to be a lot higher than them potentially moving up to draft Carlsson. Just depends on who you ask, I guess. So either way, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're a Canucks fan, what are your opinions on the team trading up to grab Leo Carlsson somewhere in the top 4? What are your thoughts on PATRIK ALLVIN publicly doing this interview, saying that it's a thing that he wants to do, that the Canucks will try, and if the price is right, they have a chance to do it? Of course, he said it's unlikely, but the fact that he's even bringing it up in the first place and saying that it's worth thinking about is significant. The Vancouver Canucks fans have never seen anything like this in the past 10, however many years we have had Canucks hockey. And these draft picks not work out. I mean, sure, the Horvats, the Petterssons, the Hugheses, the Demkos, the Bessers, they work out, but some of the other top guys don't. And it scars the team because of that. You took Virtanen over Nylander? Okay, look at where that's run your team. You took Juolevi over Tkachuk? Okay, look at how that's impacted the team too. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Vancouver Canucks and Leo Carlsson. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.